As we stated before the game, it was going to be a possession battle and a physical battle with Man United and Arsenal. And we were a bit wary in regards to, like we see here, the possession battle and the physical battle, and technically not good enough up top. These were our kind of main points that we were looking at. And I think we saw battles in those areas. And I think that United in the first half did actually really well in the possession battle. Now, the kind of tug of war for possession in a football game, it's very modern and fashionable to always talk about like effective possession and turning your nose up at passive possession and just keeping the ball. United actually kept the ball built up fine from the back all the way to halfway line areas, and actually at times in the first half pinned Arsenal not right back into their penalty area. We weren't causing their goal any danger, right? 100%, that's a fact. But Man United were pinning Arsenal back into their own half. Might be 15, 20 yards away from their penalty box, but they were getting pinned back. In certain areas they were comfortable, but we were managing to progress the ball and actually stamp our authority onto the game. And you can see that by the atmosphere and the noise levels. You could see that by Arteta's gestures on the sideline and his body language. We stifled Odegaard, Saka for the most extent, and we started with this setup and this team. And we spoke about also before the game that Ahmad might actually not play if he's going to stick to this rotation, which he did, and I think he should stick to things. The biggest thing with Amorim here is to stick to things, right? It sounds quite general, but you can really distill it down to that. I think Malacia did fine against Saka for the most part, and I think that he can do fine, and I think he can. It's his first game in over a year. It was a good half of football for somebody that hasn't played for a year. I really think so, and I think that Malacia can just kind of hopefully grow and develop physically in regards to his fitness and game sharpness and match level. I think he's a well-balanced, potential decent wing back that we can actually probably count on. I heard Troy Deeney talking before the game on TalkSport after this lineup come out, and he was saying, this is like a manager sending a message to the board about how bad his squad is. Like, what? As if that's the first piece of analysis that comes out of your mouth when you see a team. Amorim is going to keep rotating, and it generally is about his process of getting these players, like he said, to a fitness level good enough. And also needing the freshness and the kind of like, you need to be fresh for those concentration levels like we saw in the first half to be at that level. And he needs to see players. Obviously, I think you get into the point, even though Bruno Fernandes's numbers actually looked okay-ish, they look quite good in regards to, his passing percentage wasn't incredible, but it was okay. Most of our progressive passes, a decent amount of carries, okay-ish amount of progressive carries. Like, he didn't actually do that bad in possession. Like, short passes good, medium passes fine. Like, few long balls went awry, but he did all right in terms of his numbers. But still, he wasn't the presence that was needed in a game of this magnitude, of this stature. I think your talismanic type players should give you presence on a football pitch, and I think Bruno, we spoke about also in the preview, that in a home game against a mid-table or relegation threatened team, when he's got the crowd behind him, his body language and his kind of like emotional performance is completely different from when he's playing in these bigger games. I think he was even though his numbers look good there, I think he was a bit of a passenger. like compared to his compatriot next to him in Ugarte, I thought actually had a really good game. He looked more assured in certain areas on the ball, in tight spaces. He's way more relaxed on the ball than Bruno Fernandes. And I just don't think that Bruno's going to struggle to find an exact spot in the team for him, I feel. I don't think it's a good sign that Bruno Fernandes has gone from playing in the 10, then into the deep role, then back to the 10, then back to the deep role. That's literally how it's gone. One to the other, back to the one, and back to the other. That doesn't scream of somebody that doesn't scream of a manager that thinks that, yeah, he's necessarily just like a solidified player in one position and he's a bit more of like a utility type. I think Amorim sees Bruno playing deeper better so he can actually play those progressive long balls over the top and basically, fine balls over the top. It's probably Bruno's biggest strength that he can kind of consistently produce. But then when you do have him in those positions, defensively he's okay-ish. He's not too bad, but physically he's not there, is he, at all? He's not physically strong enough. He's not strong enough, physically, and obviously speed also is like a massive issue. So ground coverage to kind of like, to match runs, I don't think that's kind of like his game. So I really do find there's going to be a time where Bruno needs to not play, right? Because everyone's kind of seems to be having a rest. Bruno's played every game pretty much. So there's going to be a time when Bruno Fernandes doesn't play, and then will we then see a better Man United and probably even the most staunch Bruno Fernandes supporter will admit that at this period now, where we're playing in this new style, that Bruno Fernandes probably his importance is waning, right? He doesn't seem to be this like real important focal thing that we need, and I think that it's a very interesting kind of like transitionary period for the club, the squad, obviously new management. But I think for these big kind of important players that have been the big important players for the past couple of 10 years, 1 or 2 10 years, ironically, I feel like they're the players that probably are the ones that need replacing, are the ones that are letting this kind of system down to a certain extent. Because I feel like Amorim as a manager, you can kind of like get your team to certain positions, but then there's an execution element that needs to happen. And that's why before the ball reaches the penalty area, before it reaches the goal, before there's a chance, before there's an assist, there's always going to be a line that gets broke at some point. So as you're kind of like arcing the ball around, trying to kind of crab your way up the pitch, you're punching the ball in, but there's going to be a time where someone's going to be on a half turn and they're going to try and break a line, right? Or there's going to be a one-touch pass that's going to break a line. Something that's going to make the opposition shift dramatically, because when it's just an automatic reaction for a shape. When a shape feels really threatened, there's like a real shift, right? There's a real move to kind of like contain that. And with these players, the kind of the main superstars of this team from the last tenure and the one before, they're the ones that aren't capable of offering that real threat in the attacking areas. But basically, let's distill it. The threat that we need is through this central area. So let's say the penalty box, right? As the width of the penalty box lines, right? That area of the pitch, there's just not much threat and quality that's in those areas. And I feel like in this system now, that is Garnacho, Rashford, Bruno, majority of the time, Højlund. I think that Xerxes has got actually a high ceiling. I really do. He feels like somebody that's he's not like arrogant. You can tell that there's not this like arrogance. There's a little bit of insecurity there. not in his abilities, but just kind of in his persona. And I feel like Xerxes could really do with just being the main man up top for like 4, 5, 6 games and seeing how that kind of pans out. And because there's a lot more potential in Xerxes than there is in Højlund, right? I think everybody can see that surely. After yesterday's performance, I just think, like, what is he? You just see there's so many flaws. The ball bounces off him. Like he hasn't. His touch isn't there. He's not aware how to use his physicality. But yeah, just going back to the point that the players that need replacing in this starting 11 or the team are the two creatives that are either it's been Rashford, Bruno, and Garnacho, right? They've played in those 10 roles, and Mount, right? And then you have Højlund up front that I feel like he's just nowhere near good enough to be starting for Man United. These are impact substitutes that in a healthy, good team are coming off the bench and giving impact in the last 20 minutes. And that's what I feel that Bruno, Rashford and Garnacho and Højlund are. But they've, in the last 10 years, were put on the pedestal as the four. They were the quartet that were meant to do something and ultimately cost Ten Hag his job. And I feel like replacing those is a huge step in the right direction where you probably fix the majority of the issues. Well, all of them. I don't think it's too crazy to say it fixes all of them. Playing the what? Okay, so how do we go about fixing it? Right, there's different ways to go about. We haven't even wrote anything down there, right? So how do you go about fixing the issues? Right, so what was this team? No, it wasn't. Yeah, so obviously Mount was a surprise that Mount played, and obviously playing Bruno deeper, which is an interesting call. We thought Garnacho was going to start. Also, poor man. Just hasn't got the quality. It's fine just to say. Like, not everyone has to be the guy. Most people aren't. That's how it works. But this is the team. In regards to the striking areas, Jesus, there was quite a lot of changes. Was it like that? I think it was like that anyway. Yeah. So this Gart had a really good game, but if we're adding Bruno into this mix, which he is, and we'll add Rashford, this is the four that realistically that are going to be interchanged in these positions, or this is what we feel like where he's at with it. So here is energy in these three, energy, and then you got speed, perceived speed, ground coverage, perceived ground coverage. So there's a lot of physical attributes that seemingly Amorim wants in these areas. Now, is that because of where we're at in this at the moment? And he's like, right, in the middle of the season, these just need to be like insanely hard workers and just get about the pitch. Because realistically, there's just not enough quality there to offer any threat. And then Højlund just becomes redundant. He's not a target man. You need to be playing balls into these channels for Højlund to get onto. That's where he's actually dangerous. And then if he does get a bit of space, he's got a semi-decent finish on him here and there. But you're not going to get anything from him being the target man. Like, you need the... Let's get back into our shape. Yeah, let's get rid of Mount. It's not even about the Arsenal game. These two players here, in Garnacho and Rashford, for example, yeah? You know what? Let's get it. Right. These two players, they need to be able to operate on the half turn and receive the ball in areas in between the lines. And then Højlund can make runs. The opposite wing back can make runs. The other number 10 can link and get involved. But the ball we do not play any balls centrally through whether it's into the wing. You got one of your wing backs overlapping. Our balls to the wing backs are massive switches, which are great and they've been really effective so far. But we are not playing balls from these number 10s into anywhere, right? Oh, this is where people use arrows, isn't it? Oh, the arrows. Okay. The ball, right, is not going into here from the... Oh, my God. Disgusting. Right? These balls aren't coming, like, we're not playing these balls. Oh. Look at this mad arrow, bro. So these balls aren't coming from number 10 in these positions. This has just ruined my whole thing. How do you get rid of this thing? Oh, fuck it. Anyway. Garnacho and Bruno and Rashford and Mount aren't playing the balls that are needed into our wing backs, our striker, and whatever so these can't operate. These can't do it. Garnacho, Mount, Bruno, and Rashford, right? Højlund with some, if Iniesta and Modric in his prime were playing in behind Højlund would bag 30 Premier League goals a season, right? Like, because the balls would just be constantly getting sprayed and down the side of the centre backs, in between the full back and the centre back. But you need to be able to receive the ball in tight areas on the half turn, and these four players can't do it. So, like, we can talk about tactics and any other small detail till the cows come home, but this is a player profile issue, and I'm giving Højlund a pass here because I feel like you can utilise him in certain ways. He definitely is not good enough, but the main issue is Garnacho, Bruno, Rashford and Mount being deployed in those positions. Now, the fix, like we've spoken about several times, is, put them all on the bench. This is what we're going to do. Buzz in. Got rid of that lines. Cool. So they're on the bench. So you're going to be playing... We're playing Dalot and we're playing... No. We're playing Malacia. We're playing Dalot. Malacia could play on the left because that's what he's playing, and Amrim said that Dalot's better on the right, and I feel like going forward you play with... I understand that the ball that they like playing, Dalot's on the ball, Mazar on the ball, plays it to a left-footed wing-back, and then he gets launched in this way. But no, we should play... This player, Dalot's comfortable enough on his left foot to be able to pop the ball into Casemiro, pop the ball back to Mazraoui. So say we're playing with these two as wing-backs. Casemiro and Ugarte, which we've seen that works, right? That works fine, works well. Now, like we said, we need two players that can actually control the ball, as in like control possession in these tight number 10 areas, and give us some presence and give us some threat centrally where we can actually transition through the third centrally, ball on the ground, and actually cause problems, and then have options from wing-backs, from the striker, from a deep midfield run, from the different 10 run. But Ahmad and Mainu, I feel like, in these positions can really benefit somebody like Højlund, and realistically, even for me, I'd just go full hog and be playing like this. Obviously, when Euro's fit, Euro plays. But yeah, forget the centre-backs in terms of the personnel for now. This kind of unit here, Ugarte, Casemiro, Mainu and Ahmad, this unit offers so much more threat centrally. We saw Ugarte's ability on the ball, ability to be calm in the half space. Ground coverage is incredible. Casemiro, still really intelligent, has the cover from Ugarte and actually can get on the ball and actually get into good spaces. Very experienced, understanding and knowledge of positioning, understanding, like on the ball, actually just like really good, composed. Sometimes gets caught on the ball, cool, whatever. But up in front of them with Ahmad and Mainu and Ugarte and Casemiro kind of feeding them the ball. Mazraoui feeding Mainu the ball. Dalot being able to pop the ball into Mainu in more advanced areas where he is really good on the half turn. So is Ahmad. Then you start having a team with different qualities. We don't need blistering pacing behind. Like, if you make good timed runs, your speed is enough. Like, Malacia is quick enough. Ahmad is obviously quick enough. Xerxes is quick enough. If you're playing a nice little side roll pass here, right, from Mainu down the side for Xerxes, if he times that run properly and the ball's a good ball, it doesn't matter. Like, yes, sometimes an insanely quick centre back might catch Xerxes, but the majority of times it's the ball's good enough. You're in a good enough position, in a more advanced position. You can use your body enough, even if they catch up with you within like towards the D, etc. And you're through on goal. Like, the speed of this team is not as important as the speed was under Ten Hag, because the spaces under Ten Hag were just massive. They were just huge, massive open spaces under Ten Hag, and the gaps were huge in between players. So whether it was keeping the ball, needing to take a player on from, like, if you're a winger or if you're a holding mid, like Casemiro was just drowned out, no one near him. He receives a ball, no options, long balls. So like those kind of, that old style Ten Hag system, the only real players that it suited really was Garnacho, Rashford, and Bruno. But I feel like with this team, he needs to start playing more creative and assured players on the ball in these 2-10 spaces. And I hope that this is what it's, and I wrote some stuff down. And I think I said, like, we need this type of game. We need to see firsthand the realistic, objective flaws of these players. And we've got a manager who has the freedom and time to do it. And Amorim does have that, because of Ineos and because of the structure now, and because of the kind of the exact same, they're on the exact same page. It's the system has been picked by Ineos. They wanted this system for this squad. They think that's the best way to build, to go forward with this squad. And when we to build it from the current crop of players and the players they've brought in, and it makes complete sense that everyone's on the same page. So Amorim has the ability to play like this in games like this with basically zero pressure on his job, obviously, not just because he's here, because he's only just arrived, but because of the agreement of the project with Ineos and with Dan Ashworth and Wilcox and Barada. And these types of games we're going to see more, and it's about every single one of these types of games that we have where it's either not a good performance or like there's holes. Like, basically, where are the holes? And now that we're structurally better from the back, like, I've got no issue with the defensive five at all. I think it's actually been really refreshing. I think they've been really good for the majority of pretty much all the games. We've been cut through the midfield a few times in basically every game. Ironically, not really that much against Arsenal. But it's this blue square with this four, the two deeper midfielders and the 2 10s. That's where obviously, just from the shape of this team, that's where all the victories and the losses and the performances lie, in my opinion. I think that back five is just a solid thing with Onana as well. I just think it'll be hard for teams to break us down. I think it really will, but you need that technical acumen in those number 10 roles, and I feel like hopefully soon we'll go from high energy like Duracell bunnies to two good players on the half turn, two more traditional style 10s, maybe, as you would say, uh, and we can start feeding the striker, whoever it is, and we can start seeing threat centrally, because I think that's the most important thing. Arsenal were just like, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like, who cares about Arsenal? Were not great, in my opinion. I think they're trying to obviously keep that energy alive for a title run or some type of energy to kind of like build back with the crowd. Those set pieces are really effective. I think I would, with those set pieces, like the keepers, like, can we see that? Yeah, the keepers. So say like the set pieces out here, you just kind of like odd crowd, like 3 there, and then you crowd 3 here. Like, put a player on the actual post, like on the line. You're like, because it's basically going to be somewhat the ball that they just always really trying to get it into that near post for that near post flick, which is the most effective. They've figured it out, the most effective type of header to score, which makes sense, right? It's like little flick goal, like it's very hard to stop. But you just basically like flood these areas, and then whatever, like marking on the edge of the box, and that's the only real way to do it. And then you man mark maybe like one player, or like man mark like one player. But the idea being, you just flood these areas, the 2 areas, and do it like that, and go right. You're gonna put it in these 1 or 2 areas where literally gonna be there, but in like, and I know that's still kind of zonal to a certain extent. But just being splayed out spaciously across the whole 6-yard box, and then they can just run in between makes no sense. Like, right, you want to put it in these 2 areas. That's what you do with every single cross. So we're just going to have 2 stations, 2 like groups, a near post and back post, and then 1 person actually on the goal line at the back post. And then, 2 players. I think that's probably the way I'd structure it and try and go about it. And like we were saying it here, possession battle, I thought we did fine. Like you said, it's 50-50 across the whole game. Man United don't go to Arsenal or any top 6 team and have 50-50 possession. Like, it's really important that happens. It's like a good thing. With this team that we all agree on is technically not good enough up top, right? It's a thing. We know it. Or the players that were adorned with the tag of like the starting elite of our team under Ten Hag. But we lost a physical battle, and we didn't lose it necessarily in the game, intra game, but we lost it in the set piece battles, because we definitely were just poor in those moments, and we looked daunted every time the corner's given, like, oh my god, not again. And then Onana was like, what are you boys playing at? Like, come on, it's fine. And yeah, fair play to them, but that's the kind of like little weird loophole they'll find. They're not going to win the league by just nailing in set pieces like that. It's just, I don't know, mate. You're not going to get a consistent run of games where you're going to be able to corral teams into those scenarios enough. And what else we got here? Yeah, and I'll just carrying on with that. Like we spoke about Rashford, Bruno, Garnacho, and Haaland as a front four, not good enough to be top of the pile in a serious Man United squad. Like, they are squad players for a healthy title challenging team, but the stature of Rashford and Bruno and even Garnacho now to a certain extent is almost too high. He's almost too high for them to be like bit part players in this team, or to be like bench players. So I just can't see a world where Rashford, Bruno stay. And I think like Rashford, Bruno, and Garnacho, I can easily see all 3 of them going. Bruno because of his age, and he's not good enough. He just isn't in this system. Not in any system really. He's a very specialised certain player that can be effective at times, but in modern day football, there's just too many ball possession losses. Not enough, not inventive enough, really. Not good enough in the half spaces. Not good enough in between the lines. Too erratic, too emotional. And I think, 30 years old, it'd be time for him to go. Rashford should have been time for him to go a long time ago. Garnacho simply isn't good enough, and neither is Højlund. But like we were saying, with Iniesta and Modric behind him, Højlund probably does bag a lot of goals. So it's like, put Amad and Mainu in there, he probably bags more goals than he should, right? Just technical plays in those positions. But yeah, Man United's first half performance was impressive. No one apart from us would really give him any chance, I don't think, of like winning a possession battle. But especially in the first half, we did. So yeah, like we said, it's an inability to be threatening through the central areas, and that's the glaring issue. And that is something that we can fix within this squad, with players like Amad and Bruno and Mainu being deployed in those areas. Amad offers enough pace, and I think with Dalot and Malacia in the wide wing back areas, giving that extra man on the opposite side, it gives all enough pace in those attacking areas to be using Amad and Mainu, and even a Xerxes. And then you have your pace from Amad and your wing backs. I think that's fine, especially if we're penning teams in. We've got to get back our heads used to that we're going to actually be able to pen teams into their half now. We're not just looking to counter-attack, so we don't need all this pace constantly. We need ground coverage, but not necessarily just this crazy direct speed all the time. Like, it hasn't worked, has it? For the past however many God knows years. But yeah, hopefully when he settles down, Amorim, into a more settled starting 11, like he's hinted at that he will, he doesn't want to do this rotation all the time. And I feel like after the busy Christmas period, after the winter break, that's in February, right? I think then you'll see a more settled starting 11. And I really think that starting 11 really likely might not include Rashford and might not include Garnacho and might not include Bruno. All three, I think, you can easily make an argument that might find themselves on a bench towards the end of the season, and quite regularly in the Premier League and in the Europa League. Yeah, it was good. Like, for the neutral, obviously they'll be like, "Oh my God, how can you celebrate that?" But as a United fan, you know exactly why we would celebrate that first half performance. And if you're not, and you're like, it was negative, get a grip of yourself. We've been going to these top 6 teams for 10 years, sitting back and counter-attacking, and it being horrible to watch. And we've snuck 1 or 2 here and there. Amir said he was wanting to go there and be brave, and we kept the ball. We did as much as we could until the ball went to our attacking-minded players who aren't good enough. Those specific ones that were playing, and ones that have played, the quartet. And I've got nothing against those. They all seem like really nice people, by the way. Bruno seems like a really nice family man. Rashford seems like a good kid that's just a bit overawed by it all, and has probably been like misled a little bit. Garnacho's just like a fanboy that's like decently okay. He's not like he hasn't got a horrific touch. It's not like awful all the time. He's not horrifically slow. He's ground coverage, gets out of the pitch, but he's not good enough. I think we can do a lot in the summer. I think a lot of these players will leave. I just believe. I just believe. If I believe in Amorim and Ineos, they're going to be ruthless and be like really objective with it. And hopefully we see signs of it. I'm not saying in this Christmas period we're going to see loads of it, signs of it, but Bruno Fernandes, and it's not even I'm singling him out so much, but I obviously am in this context. But yeah, again, it's not from a place of I'm not bothered, but like it's objective. It all has to be objective now with Ineos and Amorim. It has to be objective. Radcliffe's given us the arena now to operate as a sports club, as a sports team first, right? As a football team first. And I think that gives Ineos and Amorim the room and the space and the power to operate objectively. And I think getting Bruno and Rashford's money off the books would be massive. You'll probably get 45, 50, 60 mil for either one of them. Maybe like I just can't see him more than that, if that. And you get rid, and then I think that once we either play Ahmad and Mainu or those players of those ilk in those 10 positions, until you really start putting technicians in those areas, you're going to have this issue of lack of threat centrally. And you need to offer threat centrally, even if you're looking to cause damage on the wings. You have to offer threat centrally, whether you're going to use that and go centrally, or you're going to, occupy the threat centrally and then play make down the sides. It has to be there, and I don't think it's possible with the old starlets of Man United in yesteryear. But yeah, there's a lot of positives to take. This is just pretty therapeutic for me to do. To be fair, but yeah, I'm committed to keep doing them. They're obviously really rambly, man. Pretty rambly with it. But yeah, I don't know. It's enjoyable to kind of like break things down a little bit, even for myself, more so even without anyone listening. I'm not really that arsed about it. Just want to keep doing them just keep doing it, getting to a good process with it every day, put one out. And then hopefully someone down. Yeah. Anyway, it's gonna keep going, and then we'll see where the hell it is in 5 years. But anyway, peace, and so actually some decent games. We'll just check them together, seeing as this is for me, and I want to check. So yeah, Serie A, Lazio, Napoli in the Coppa Italia. I'm well on that. I kind of want Lazio to. That's like a good tight. He's obviously in the cup, but it's like kind of like a title clashy game, but just in the cup. So it'll be interesting because I kind of want Lazio to win. Lazio got the sickest badge, by the way. That's like my favourite badge in football. But in terms of Premier League, Bournemouth, Tottenham, a pretty interesting game. Always, I really like Ange. I think everyone should get behind Ange more. Spurs win, they go. Do you know what I mean? They're basically, in the European spots again, and then that top five then is the top is a traditional top five, right? And United, 11th is what it is. Tough fixture, did fine, done on set plays. A team that's was known for playing really good football. If Arsenal could have played us off the park, they would have, right? So let's not mess about and say it was anything but a set piece master class. Fair play. I mean, it is what it is.